Alright, here's the 90 wagon back. This is going to be the daily driver, and as usual, it's going to get turboed. So I figured this car, I'll try and document how to do the turbo swap for any of you guys that are new to this. And if you have any questions, just shoot me an inbox or a private message or anything like that. First steps here is to rip everything out. The exhaust manifold, I just cut the exhaust off and you pull the oxygen sensor out. They're 13mm bolts. Well, nuts with studs. Most of the studs on mine came out here. The radiator and radiator hoses. These were, I believe, 5/16 clamps. This is 15mm to get the transmission cooler lines. This is held in with, again, I believe a 5/16 bolt that holds the reservoir tank in, and then 3 Phillips. Over here was all the AC stuff. I'd previously pulled that out in another video. You can check that out. And then to pull out the radiator the rest of the way, you have to get the mechanical fan out. So that is these 4 10mm nuts. And there's a big stupid shroud right there that comes out with it. That's 2 Phillips heads on the top, and then that whole thing pulls out. And then all that's left to get the radiator out is the upper hose, which again is 5/16 clamps here and, well, around here somewhere. And then there's the 2 radiator tie-down support straps, whatever you want to call them, brackets. They're just held in right here with 10mm bolts. And you can get rid of the 10mm bolt here and airbox for the NA setup. So here is the junk that you don't need. This is the factory airbox, chucked, gonna get chucked, a mechanical fan, the elbow for the air, and this big stupid shroud here, all the coolant. Here's the box of stuff that's gonna be kept or gone through. This is your reservoir, coolant reservoir bracket and tank. I'll probably just throw this away. I find uses for these things and the hardware. Next, I'm going to pull out all the plugs and start doing some cleanup. So what this is going to get is a 12B, I believe. It was on my 740 turbo. It was a 90. The turbo was switched for some, or swapped for some reason. I forget why when I bought it. So it's 12B, 90 plus manifold. Let's see, 016 MAF for LH 2.4. The appropriate intercooler piping. I'm going to use a 740 upper inlet intercooler right here. I'm going to stack these up. I'll show you that then. Relocate the MAF wiring, which right now the stock location's right here next to the strut tower. All you do is you cut this, leave yourself some room, and you extend all 5 of these wires to run up and around the back. I run it under the strut tower sheet metal here, and then right in to about here. And then what you're going to need for this swap is, aside from the turbo and manifold, is the coolant, lower coolant line off the radiator. It has a branch in it that goes to the turbo. You will need the coolant line that comes off of the bottom of the reservoir tank. That also has a T that goes into the turbo. You have to make a oil pressure source for the turbo. So what I like to do is, let me get a light, is take the factory oil sender out right there, re-drill, well, it's a British pipe thread, so I drill out the I get rid of the factory sensor and re-tap that for NPT. And then I run an NPT, 1/8 inch NPT T-fitting, and in the front I put another oil sender, and in this side I put a barb fitting for the oil pressure line, which will go into the turbo around here. And then oil return, this is an NA car, but it doesn't really matter. The factory boss is right there on the block for it. You can see the circle there. That you just drill right in the center. I'm going to do a 5/8 oil return line. I use hydraulic oil, or Penn Hydraulic is local to me. So I use Penn Hydraulic oil line for my oil return. It's really nice. It's covered in fabric. It's good stuff. And then eventually this is going to get a T-cam. So I'll do the cam swap and all that. You'll need injectors. For this, I'm not sure if it's an NA car, you have to wire in a resistor stack, a resistor pack, which is one of these guys over here. This here is a resistor pack. And injectors. If you want to use low impedance injectors, you have to run a resistor pack. That's like factory 740 and 940 turbo cars. Or you can get away, if you don't want to wire a resistor pack in, you can run 850 turbo injectors. I always run 850 turbo injectors just because it's simple and I don't have to run one of them stupid resistor packs and rewire and all that crap. So that covers under the hood for the most part. You have to run an electric fan. I'm going to get rid of the mechanical fan. Again, an 850 makes a great donor for that. 850 fan. I can show you how you have to cut down the shroud. Not the shroud, but the plastic that it sits in up against the radiator. And then that gets wired to a relay. I usually run the relay in the ground into the car. And then it's a switch with switch and ground. So that's the underside, or the underhood. And then you need ECU and EZK. This is a gold box. I go with the chippable ones so I can tune them. I use an ostrich, but you don't need to do that. There's a thread you can check out on Turbo Bricks that tells you which ECUs are chippable and which aren't. But you want a turbo ECU and EZK from an LH 2.4 car. 90 plus, you're pretty safe. Anything 90 plus. Well, actually 740 or 940, 90 plus. So this is going to get pushed out, cleaned up a little more before I continue to work on it. Probably pull off the old air conditioner AC pump down there and cut the bracket down so it's just the power steering pump, and then run one belt. I have to play the belt game. So there's part one, and I'll show you guys what to do next then.